All right, welcome everyone to another session of the Horne Show. And today we have with us Salma Merhebi, who is currently living in Australia, and she's going to share with us her story of how she got there and what she's currently doing and focusing on. So I would like to hand it over to you, Salma, to introduce yourself, who you are, where you come from, and what you're doing now.
Hi, Maria, and hi, everyone. First, thank you so much for having me here today. I'm really excited and I'm looking forward to this talk. First of all, I'm Salma Merhebi. I'm Lebanese. I'm currently living in Australia and I'm doing my PhD in chemical engineering at the University of New South Wales in Australia. I'm a member of CASLIO, which is the Center for Advanced Solid and Liquid-Based Electronics and Optics. So what we do is we're a research team. We work on creating novel materials that have an impact on the betterment of human life and the environment as well. So that's how I worked on different projects, and I succeed in publishing several scientific papers. And because of my passion to STEM, I also understand how youth and students might be very interested in STEM fields but need some motivation and encouragement to pursue their education in these fields. And that's how I worked as a volunteer mentor in STEM fields with the Juniors Academy. I participated in several international environments and internships, volunteering opportunities, some contests. I won several scientific awards, like the runner-up for the 3-minute thesis competition in the School of Chemical Engineering, and another environmental challenge. I was in the second place with my team. And in the past, I did some volunteering work in education, translation, social work, and so on that added a lot of skills, values, and lessons to my personality and career. Yeah, so that's briefly what I do now and what I did in the past.
Okay. How is the situation in Australia currently, especially with the pandemic? Has it slowed down or what's it like?
Yeah, so I can say that I'm lucky because I'm experiencing the pandemic in Australia. Like Australia has become like a success story for the pandemic. We have 26 million people, but nearly no community transmission cases in the past months. Sometimes we got some cases, like, but countable cases per week or fortnight or month, and they're mainly from a hotel quarantine. But beside this, we can say that we're now back to our normal life. All the restrictions are eased. No mandatory masks, no limited numbers in houses, parties, funerals, weddings. All of this disappeared. We're living like very peacefully here, but the borders remained closed.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that was how they succeed in facing the pandemic. So from the beginning, they sealed the borders. And yeah, so the health officials rapidly tracked all the cases, and they isolated all the outbreaks. And the government addressed to the people and told them, like, look, this is serious. We need your cooperation. And people were really cooperating. They were following the rules, social distancing, masks mandatory in transport and public places.
Mm-hmm.
But I think we had some problems made. Maybe, Maria, you heard about the jokes and the memes made about Australians and the toilet paper issue. I'm not sure if you know it.
No, tell me about it.
Yes, so we had people getting crazy that, oh, we're in a lockdown, maybe we need to store groceries, and we do some shoppings and store basically toilet paper. And don't ask me why toilet paper, I'm not sure what the reason. Yes, so toilet paper disappeared from supermarket shelves, and we were unable to find it for weeks. and the government was forced to put limits on groceries and shopping, like a limited number of items per person or family. And yeah, that was maybe the huge problem that I experienced. So another thing that the government made was how the prime minister formed a national cabinet with leaders from all over the states just to take decisions for the coronavirus pandemic. So all the politicians were working together from different parties, and I think they succeed in this. Maybe because I'm living in New South Wales, I couldn't say that it was very hard. Maybe people from Melbourne suffered a lot. They had a very, very long lockdown. They had two waves of COVID. Yeah, so even the state border was closed for a very long time. So yeah, they were the most affected. But in New South Wales and Sydney, everything was okay. I think that we went into a lockdown maybe for 1 month. So I stopped going to the university for 1 month, and yeah, I stayed home. We were not allowed to go out except for some reasons like shopping or exercising. Um, yeah, and we had all the rules about limited numbers and places and the social distancing thing. And yeah, so that's how they faced it. But currently, we do not have more cases, but the borders remain closed, and nobody is allowed to enter the country except citizens and residents. And even citizens and residents in Australia are not allowed to leave the country except for some compelling reasons.
Mm. Okay. I think the issue with the toilet paper, we also had it here, except
Mhm.
in our case it was the shops and the supermarkets that and the retail outlets that were like restricting how much you would buy. I also remember
Uh,
it happened like during the first wave of the pandemic, everyone just ran out and started buying toilet paper,
yeah.
like you said. So we also had the same situation here. I didn't know that it happened in Australia. But
Yeah,
you
you
said
didn't have people fighting over it?
not that I'm aware. What I know is that what I saw is that there was like long lines
Mm-hmm.
in when you would go to the grocery store, there would be long lines of people waiting to enter and shop because they also limited what time for how long you would go into the supermarket.
Yeah.
I do remember that when we went shopping in the bread aisle, one time we went and it was entirely empty. Like there was nothing on the shelves. So, yeah,
Oh,
I mean, I guess people were panic buying. That's what they were calling it because they didn't
yeah.
know when they would next get bread, which was kind
Yeah.
of weird to me. I mean, you could
Yeah.
bake bread if you really needed to, but okay. Yeah, I
Yeah, I
think
think,
the one thing you said which I found really interesting is how your government appointed, you said they appointed leaders in each state or something like that.
yeah, yeah, they
Okay.
have a national cabinet to take decision for the pandemic.
Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah.
We had
Mm-hmm.
the same, but it was brought with a lot of like conflicting information. Also,
Yeah.
there was a lot of politics in it, so I think maybe that's also the reason why we the states took a long time with the
Mm,
recovery because there was mixed messaging. There were those who were like, yes, you should wear the mask, and others who were refusing to abide by the guidelines, and that obviously had really drastic like impacts on everyone. So
yeah.
it's interesting to hear that in your country the situation was different, which is good. It shows that
Yeah.
people can work together.
Yeah.
Yeah. You said something about Cas Leo, and I was wondering if you could maybe speak a little bit more about it. Is it based in Australia or where is it based?
Yeah, it's based in Sydney, Australia, in the University of New South Wales. It's a research team. Like it's led by our professor Kurosh Kalantarzadeh, and we have a funding from the ARC, Australian Research Centre. So we're like more than 10 PhD candidates and more than 10 postdoc researchers. We're working together on, I don't want to say similar projects, but we have the big title of working on liquid metals, which is an emerging material that nobody is basically working on it. Fully working on it at the moment. So, what we do is we develop materials with liquid metals to explore this material that has not been explored before. Like we all know the mercury, but the mercury, like mercury is a liquid metal, but it's discovered and proved as toxic. So that's why we moved to other metals like gallium and gallium alloys that are melting at room temperature. They are liquid, and you can benefit from their liquid state, conductive properties, and other extraordinary properties like shape shifting. And from liquid metals, you can develop other materials to different applications such as electronics, biomedicals, ionic sensing, and so on. Yeah, so we're all working on this. We're all exploring this new type discovery or new type of material, and we're making novel materials from it and making some scientific papers about it as well.
Mm. And do you think that, like from the research you're doing, do you think it's going to benefit the like us people, human beings? If so, how? Like with the new discovery of, like, I don't know, maybe the way that you're doing the experimentation, will some of it be put to good use?
Yeah, of course. Like chemical engineering in general benefit the human being and the world, the environment. But if I wanna talk about in particular my field of chemical engineering, which is basically material science and developing new materials, of course it's gonna benefit the humankind. I can talk about my project and how I developed liquid metals polymeric composite. So this composite was extremely conductive, and to make it more interesting, we added some magnetic particles inside. So you could easily shapeshift the material using a small magnet. So what we can do with this is stretchable electronics. So it's the future of soft robotics. So instead of using wires, solid rigid wires, you can use malleable material or soft stretching material that you can use it and connected by a magnet, remove the magnet and disconnect it after that. So that was really interesting to see. And and yeah, I was successful in publishing a paper of this material in the Journal of Applied Materials and Interface. So after this, I developed another material from liquid metal, and it was mixed with polyvinyl alcohol, which is a polymer. This polymer is environment friendly. It's biocompatible as well. So I changed the cross-linking, and instead of making it as a gel-like, it was more as a film-like, like a membrane, a more rigid. So this membrane showed a great capability of sensing lithium ion. And we all know the problem of lithium waste in seawater, lithium ion waste in seawater because of lithium batteries and so on. So by using this liquid metal mixed with polyvinyl alcohol, we were able to collect lithium ions from a seawater mixture, and we could see that other cations or ions pass through this membrane, like sodium plus and potassium plus and magnesium plus. They all pass through the membrane except the lithium. It was captured on the surface of the membrane. So we can say that we have a small scale solution for the lithium waste problem. And yeah, so we drafted a manuscript to the Journal of Materials Chemistry A, and hopefully we will hear about the acceptance of the paper soon.
Mm. Yeah, I think that's really interesting. I mean, because there's a lot of waste actually in the oceans, and if
Yeah,
there is a way to clean it up, using the technology that you are creating, I think that would be a really good thing, especially for the environment. So I
yeah.
mean, congratulations for that milestone. And I
Thank you so
wish you
much.
success. I hope you get funding for it, and I hope it becomes mainstream, you know?
Thank you, Maria.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's move on to the next question. Sorry, I
Mhm.
diverted from that because I heard you talking about Castleo, and I was curious to learn more about what it is, and I'm glad that I
Yeah,
asked you about
that's
it.
all right.
Yeah, so let's move over to like a lighter topic, which is about your advocacy work. And I
Mhm.
know that you're a global peace chain ambassador, so I would like for you to maybe share with our audience how that role has helped you, grow in your career, but also advocate for peace, especially in countries like Lebanon and countries that are experiencing war or go through bouts of war, in and out of war.
Yeah. So first of all, Global Peace Chain is an organization. It's an international organization working towards peace education and like fighting hate and violence and racism, and spreading peace and multiculturalism and acceptance. And this all can be done through interactive peace talks and sessions, workshops, events, etc. So it was established in 2018, and it works on advocating human rights and UN SDG, like Sustainable Development Goals. And yeah, so how they work internationally is that they build teams all over the world. Like they allocate ambassadors in each country, and the different ambassadors in one country make a team, and they have a leader or a country director for the team and an assistant country director. So I was really honored to be the country director of Global Peace Chain in Australia, and it was such an amazing experience because we worked on different projects. Like we benefit from all the international events and international days to make a statement and leave a message to people to spread peace and like accept each other. And we did some workshops, especially webinars and online workshops that were basically focusing on environmental problems, bushfires, climate change, wildlife conservation, recycling, and all of these important stuff that people should focus on during their daily life. Another amazing event that I did with Global Peace Chain was on the day of the Prophet birthday, like called Mawlid in Arabic, peace be upon him. So what we do is we wanted to spread the teaching of the Prophet among the Australian community. And what we wanted to do behind this is to face this. A basic idea or perception about Muslims or Islam from others, maybe because of stereotypes and because of the media, we can say, and Islamophobia, and people who destroyed the values of Islam and showed an opposite face of Islam. So what we did is we tried to give white roses, white to symbolize peace, and we attached small messages to each rose. And on the message, we wrote some advices from the Prophet. And these advices were basically to talked about peace and how to respect each others, how to respect our country, our family, how to respect women, and how to be good in your daily life. So we wrote these small messages, and we went around Sydney, and we gave people from different nationalities and ethnicities, because you know that Australia is a very diverse country. So these people were really amazed. They showed like acceptance and happiness while opening this little message and reading reading the advices of our prophet, and knowing more about our Islamic values. To like They were really I really appreciated how they accepted this and how they were happy while having it, and how they wanted to know more and ask more questions about it. from this experience, I was happy that I was taking the values of my religion or maybe my home country to here. And I had in mind an idea that people do not care how you practice your religion, but they care how you show your religion from your attitudes and behaviors. So it was a really nice gesture, and people really liked it. So it was amazing. And I'm really happy that Global Peace Chain gave me the opportunity to do this activity here and see all these beautiful reactions and help me to portray a fair image of Islam where I am. Um, and because, I told you that we have ambassadors in the same country, so all these ambassadors applied and wanted to take this role because they have the same ambition and same goal and same mission. That's why I'm happy that I met these people and I became friends with some of these ambassadors. And beside being in this organization, we moved to another organization together. It's not an organization, it's more like a challenge. So me and two other ambassadors from Global Peace Chain Australia, Reem and FIBA, we made a team and we participated in a competition. It's an environmental competition called Global Green Impact Challenge. So this challenge gives you a list of actions to do during your daily life to prove that you want to become more green and more sustainable. So it has categories like waste, energy, wildlife, health, and well being. And each category has some actions, and you need to do this action and provide a proof of it or attach a document to prove that you did this and you're working on yourself to become more sustainable. And we really changed a lot during this experience. We named our team Global Green Chain because we met through Global Peace Chain, and we got the second place award in the competition. So yeah, we were so happy. And beside this, we got a special award. It was the Engagement and Innovation Award because we built a Facebook page. It's called the Global Green Chain, and we put on this page some advices to push people to be more sustainable and more green and help them to know more resources about being environment friendly in Sydney, especially. So, yeah, it was such an amazing experience. And also, it was because of Global Peace Chain. That's how we met, and that's how we made our team.
Mhm. Yeah. And I want to ask you, I think I like the way that you spoke about your religion and the perception, the wrong perception that people have about Islam. Do you
Yeah.
do you think that, I mean, I know that you've done some advocacy on it, but do you think that maybe there could be people from different faiths could, respect each other? Because I feel like there is this thing, especially here in the States also, we see that
Mhm,
sometimes they look at Islamists as terrorists, and yet
mhm.
that's not who they are. It's just factions or people within the religion that give it a bad name, which is really
Mhm.
sad to see.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the big problem is when you generalize everything. Like when you see a bad thing, you cannot blame everyone belonging to this, that they're all the same. You cannot take an idea about everyone because of someone's bad or someone's mistake. And that's how people, when they engage more in the community, they meet more people, they take themselves out of their daily life or their box, they discover that's not the case. They will know that and learn by the hard way uh, that no, not all people are like this. I can admit that some people are doing some bad things in the name of Islam, and maybe these are the reasons why people are having um, misperception or bad ideas about the religion. But we need to work on this together, because it's not only about the religion, it's also sometimes about the nationality, the community, these ideas and stereotypes about a specific category of people. We need to remove yeah, this way of thinking.
Mm. Yeah, and maybe doing things like what you did with handing out the white roses is probably, like you said, people learn from your actions more than from the way that you practice. So you have to
Sure,
show
sure,
them
sure.
who you are. All right. So I wanted to also ask you about the Swiss Climate Cards project, the one that
Yeah,
we did together with you in 2018.
yeah,
And what your experience, I'm curious to know what your experience was. And
yeah.
also, what was that the time when you were back in Lebanon, or did you do that project when you were in Australia?
I was in Lebanon back then. Such
Okay,
a great
yeah, I
memory.
figured. And long, it feels like ages and ages ago. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, thank you so much for bringing this memory here because I love this project. Like, it all started with your message or email that we have the giant postcard initiative. We want children to take action for raising the attention of policymakers for climate change and the importance of making decisions. So I was like, yeah, let's do it. Why not? I want to be in this. I want my country to be in this. And yeah, since I was the global ambassador of Blue Luxury Investments in Lebanon, I participated in this. So the project was Take Actions for a safer climate change for a safer climate. And yeah, I remember that that was the name of the project. And we wanted to beat the Guinness World Record for the largest number of postcards. I think it was 100,000 postcards.
yeah.
And we wanted the help of children and youth for this. So I went to the Swiss embassy in Beirut. I got the postcards and I started contacting schools to involve them in this project. And I got a confirmation from Rawdat Al Farha High School in Tripoli, North Lebanon. Yeah, so they wanted to participate, and I went there. I delivered the postcards. I talked to the students and the responsibles and the teachers. They were all happy and excited. Yeah, so I think we did it with the primary students, like grade 4 to 6, I think. And yeah, so I was glad that all the directors and responsibles were helping me. And I was amazed by two things. First, like how the school um, acted for this project. Like they were very excited. They wanted to be in this, and they really appreciated me contacting them for this project. And second, I was surprised by the children drawings. Like they were kids. They were in the age of 9 to 11, and they had a great knowledge of climate change. And like for me, I thought that kids know that we should not put rubbish in the street or we should not throw banana peels like in the playground. Yeah, but they knew more than this, way
Yeah.
more than this. Like they knew the CO2 emissions, they knew renewable sources of energy. Like some postcards has on one side the problem, and on another side the solution. So I was really overwhelmed with how the students are educated and how they are aware of this problem. I'm not sure if the social media is responsible for this, maybe the television,
I think
and
so too.
maybe yeah, yeah, maybe because the media is focusing more on this problem, and maybe also the school is aware of this, and maybe the curriculums are including more environmental problems, maybe in science. I'm not sure about this, but they were really amazing. We collected more than 1,000 postcards from the school, and they were colored and bright and beautiful. And we have a beautiful video. Remember it, Maria?
Yes, I do. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So we delivered them back to the Swiss embassy, and they were exposed on the largest glacier on the Alp in Switzerland. We wanted to raise their voice to push leaders to take actions and decisions for climate change, and especially because back then we had the UNFCC that took place in Poland, COP
yeah.
24. Yeah.
Yeah, actually, that year when we put the postcards is also the same year that Greta Thunberg came out, and she did her
Oh,
first global strike at the
yeah.
COP. Because I was sitting next to her, and I didn't know that she was that. big of a person until she started talking. And then I went and I looked her up. I'm like, wow, this young kid is organizing all this. And it was just
Wow.
so timely that we were also doing the Swiss Cards project at that time. And
Yeah.
I have to say that I wouldn't have been able to do it without you. So thank you for having volunteered on that project with
Thank you
us.
for involving me. It was great.
Yeah. All right. So there's also something interesting about you before you moved to Australia, which is you did your master's in composting.
Hmm.
And I maybe wanted to hear a little bit more about why you chose composting and how the solutions in composting can help with waste management, especially in your country. Wait, so let me first ask a question if you don't mind. So you
Yeah,
were
sure.
born in Lebanon or you have both
Yes.
Lebanese and Australian? Okay, all right.
Yeah. So yeah, the idea behind the project was, I think, back then we had the Lebanon's waste crisis in
Yeah,
2015. We had a huge landfill site closed, and the government was not able to find any solution for this or emergency plan. So instead of doing something, they replaced it by dumping and burning the waste on the streets.
yeah,
Yeah, we had a bad air quality, like a lot of smokes. People went on strikes, and yeah, they requested to do something. Um, we had like the landfill of Burj Hamoud. It was supposed to be like 4 meters, and it reached 16 meters, and nobody did do anything about it or suggested any solution about this. Uh, yeah, so we had some environmental organization trying to solve the problem and to work on this, but that's where I found myself faced to this problem, and I found that yeah, I need to do something. I need to be involved in this. I want to do. I want to invest through my education to solve this problem. And because I was in my final year in the Masters of Petrochemical and Chemical Engineering at the Lebanese University, I chose this topic, and because I knew how big was the problem, and I knew that we generate like 1 kilogram per capita per day of waste in Lebanon. So we have to do something about it because mainly it's organic waste. So that's from where my project was born. It was entitled Organic Waste Treatment by Composting, a case study in Tripoli, Lebanon. Yeah, so it was a design mainly inexpensive and convenient, so it can reduce the local waste, and at the same time it has two outputs. First, the compost, that's a nutrient for the growth of plants in soil, and the second output is the generation of heat from the composting process is the biogas, and this biogas could be used as a renewable clean source of energy for cooking, for electricity, for lights, like for providing power to houses. So yeah, this research helped me to understand deeply the big problem facing my country, with the consequences on health and people and the environment. And I understood it in details, like because I did a literature review. So I had some statistical numbers to know what's going on and how big is the problem. And I had the need to solve it. Yeah, so it faced me with the situation and placed me in a position where I should choose the best suitable solution and waste management method by using a detailed design and a simulation model on Aspen Heises, where I did a financial study and also an efficiency study to see how much we can generate, how much area we can cover with this plant and process. So, if you're asking me if this solution helped to solve the waste management challenges in Lebanon, yes, it does, because I have a study, a scientific study, and from a scientific point of view, I can tell you that it does. But from a political point of view. I cannot tell you if it will be implemented or
Implemented.
not.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. That's always the challenge is how do you integrate or work with the political aspect of every decision. It's always a challenge
yeah,
for everyone. Yeah, but it's good that
that's
you
true.
did research. I mean, you took the action of finding a solution, which is
Yeah,
a step that not everyone else does. So the fact that you did that is, shows proaction on your part, which I think is good. And who knows, maybe someday the ministry will write to you and ask you for your solution. You
hopefully.
never know.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So also I wanted to ask you whether you heard about the Beirut explosion that happened last year. I think it
Yeah,
was also related to a chemical substance. And since
yeah,
you're doing a PhD in chemical engineering, maybe you could speak about what your thoughts or your feelings were when you saw that explosion, and uh,
yeah.
if you had any ideas or any thoughts on how it could have been handled better.
Yeah, yeah, of course, I remember this. I woke up in the morning about the news. I saw the videos. It was heartbreaking and horrible, and it was a very, very big explosion that affected almost each Lebanese, even if you're not living near to the port. But it might affect you by a way or another. Yeah, so thankfully, my family was living far from the port, but they were saying that they could hear the sound. Even people in Cyprus, around 160 kilometers away, said that they heard the blast. So it was terrible. Yeah, and it had some bad effects on the city, on the people, on the health, on the economic, on everything, because it's not only about the explosion and the devastation infrastructure, and the thousand of people injured and died, children, newborn, disabilities, destruction, schools, hospital, healthcare facilities, everything was destroyed. But beside this, we had other big issues and problems, like the port contains more than 80% of Lebanon's imported grains, and like Lebanon only rely on 10% of their grains from the local production. So that was a huge problem for the food sector. And yeah, and so the food security was threatened back then. Also, the containers, um, and the port warehouse had some PPE, personal protective equipment, and we were in the COVID
Yeah.
situation, and we needed these things, so they were all gone and destroyed with this explosion.
Hmm.
Yeah, that was really sad from different point of views and different sides. And the main problem was the lack of responsibility and the neglect. Like, this chemical should not be stored in a place close uh, to population and accommodation and houses, not even in a port. It should be treated in a different way, like in different conditions, from temperature to pressure to humidity. But I can say that it's all because of corruption and neglect. So they stored it just to put it somewhere because of a ship who didn't want it or didn't know what to do with it. So they put it next to grains and PPEs and people and accommodation and the sea and the humidity. So it was a big, big, big threat and risk. Um, and it's mainly because the responsibles didn't take care of this issue and didn't know how to deal with it. And that's what happens when we have neglect. Like, we have huge consequences, and this is the worst consequence that I have ever seen in Lebanon because of corruption.
Yeah. Well, I hope that they learned from that mistake and that doesn't happen again. I mean, it's really sad. Now that you're telling me all those details, I didn't know all that it was stored next to grains and all that. And uh, I now I even feel more sorry that it happened that way, and hopefully it doesn't happen like that in the future. But again, like you said, if it's a corruption issue, then it needs to be dealt with within the leadership, you know? Like the people who are
Yeah,
responsible should actually be more responsible with the
of
roles
course.
and the people who are looking up to them and hoping that they will do their job effectively. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Um, so I think maybe we could go a little bit more to like what you're doing now, which is your PhD in chemical engineering.
Mhm.
And maybe you could tell us a bit more like what are your hopes or aspirations for your career? Like how do you see your PhD helping you or helping others around you or helping your country even?
Yeah. So for my PhD, as I mentioned before, I'm working on liquid metal polymeric composite. So due to their soft nature, liquid metal composite are proposed as artificial skin for robotics application, selective membranes, and biomedical application as well. And that's what I do in my PhD, where I developed liquid metal composite based on low toxicity alloys and biocompatible polymers, polyvinyl alcohol. So the coordination between the hydrophilic hydrogels with the liquid metal interface is designed via cross-linking. This cross-linking reaction can change from gel-like material to more like stiff material, and these novel materials, as I discussed before, showed the exceptional potential for soft actuation, stretchable electronics,
So
with
when you say,
conductive.
so sorry for interrupting. So you said like
That's fine.
stretchable electronics, it's like computers and phones or
When I say stretchable electronics, I mean like how we can replace rigid wires with stretchable wires or stretchable
okay.
material that can help us in saving energy in order to connect and disconnect, and other stuff like shape shifting if we have a very small sizes of devices and equipment, and here where we come to mobile devices or computer devices.
Okay, all right, I get it. All right.
Yeah,
So, and I think that you probably already even answered the question when you were talking about Casleo, because you
yeah,
said Casleo is within your university. Is that right?
yeah, that's
Okay.
correct.
Okay, so I don't need I don't want to repeat get you repeating your answer
Yeah,
again. Okay, so
yeah,
that's
okay.
clear to me. Okay,
Mhm.
so I'll ask a light question. What's the best part about living in Australia for you now? And
Can
what
I
are
say
you and
best parts, not
yes,
parts?
sure. Yeah, sure.
Okay. Yeah, because there's a lot of parts to talk about here. So first, I can talk about my education because Australia's universities are recognized internationally for academic research specifically. Like we have highly equipped laboratories and a very generous funding for the research. Like before coming here, I knew Sydney only from the MTV show. Maybe you know it, The Real World Sydney, and from the New Year's fireworks, because you know that the New Year's Eve happens first in Australia.
Yeah.
So, but when I came here, when I started to explore more the city, specifically Sydney, I discovered that it's an amazing city, and like I was surprised how this country that was considered a jail in the past became one of the world's best places to live, and it's like a happy place to live in. It's a diverse place. You have a lot of cultures, ethnicities, religions, and you have the opportunity to explore something new every day and to meet someone new every day as well. So yeah, that's what nice in the environment, let's say. And the most nice thing is the people, how friendly they are. Like they have a popular expression whenever you ask anything, whenever you have a problem. It's like no worries, mate. So
Yeah.
yeah, I was shocked at the beginning why you are so optimistic, people, why you are like this. And then I knew maybe it's because tranquility is free in Australia. Like they have beaches, they have great weather, they have harbors, they have mountains, diverse flora and fauna, beautiful animals, beautiful plants. So maybe that's the reason. Food, coffee, flavors from all around the world. So that's very nice in the country.
Mhm.
Yeah, what else? The opera house, the amazing architecture of the building, the amazing events that happen in the opera house. Um, yeah, how people are friendly, happy all the time. You will feel loved all the time because everyone is calling you darling as well. Um, yeah, so I think it's a good country to live in, and you will always explore something new in this country.
Mhm. Well, I'm glad that you're enjoying your stay there, and it's nice to hear from your point of view what it's like. Do
Mhm.
you also do they experience snow in Australia? I'm not sure. Or it's
It's only
what's
in
the
particular
temperature like?
places.
Okay, all right.
So it's the opposite of European and Middle Eastern countries. Like in Christmas, it's summer here.
Oh, that's
So
nice.
yeah,
Yeah.
so that's the opposite here. But for the snow, it snows sometimes in some specific places, like the snowy mountains and the inside inner place in Australia. Yeah.
But generally the climate is warm.
Yes, generally yes.
All right, that's good. That's good to know. Where I am, we have on Christmas it's snowing, so it's well, not all the
Yeah.
time, but it's cold, and
Hmm.
it's cold for I think 4 months, from starting October, November-ish till Feb. You're
Hmm.
experiencing so a lot of people are hibernating. There's not much going on, and if you go
Hmm.
out, you have to dress up. So, I mean that's a challenge in itself, but yeah, I mean, it's nice to know that you're enjoying your stay there
Yeah.
and the
Is
weather
it
is so
cold
good.
at the moment where you are?
Now it's spring, it's like
Mm.
50, sometimes goes to 60 degrees Fahrenheit. So,
Uh-huh.
wait, is that Fahrenheit? Yeah, Fahrenheit. I keep
Yeah.
confusing Celsius and Fahrenheit, but it's Fahrenheit. So,
Yeah.
yeah. So it's warmer. It's a bit
Yeah.
warmer than it was before, which is a good thing.
Good.
And the birds are out. So, and
Ah, nice.
I've developed a love for bird watching. So when it's really
Mm.
good and the sun is out, then I go and do a little bit of bird watching.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's very nice.
Yeah. All right. We're winding down, and I did want to ask you about the Australian bushfires. I also did some research, and it appears that it's almost common to have the bushfires. So I'm just wondering, like, from your experience now that you've lived there, how
Mhm.
did people react to the recent one? I think it was
Yeah.
2019. I didn't hear of
Yes,
2020, but the big one in 2019. And
that's correct.
how did people react to it, and how what was done to make sure that something of that nature doesn't happen to that extent
Yeah.
again?
Yeah, so as you said, it's something normal to happen, especially in summer seasons. But the bushfire that happened in 2019, it was like the worst bushfire in the history of Australia.
Mhm.
There were more than 130 fires across the country, 4 million hectares on fire in New South Wales only. So yeah, it was devastating. We had like people evacuating their houses. 1,300 homes have been lost. Some people dead, and some people were missing. And thankfully, we had professional volunteer firefighters who were battling the flames in a very courageous and hopeful way. I think the most tragic and heartbreaking thing was the loss of biodiversity and wildlife. um, it's true that we're very happy that we didn't lose a lot of people. It were only like 19 deaths, but talking about animals, it was like
Mm,
500 million animal lost during
yeah,
the bushfires.
yeah.
Yeah.
And what about the
uh,
species? Were there some species that became extinct, or did they
yeah, the
manage to save?
Yeah, there was a very high risk of species becoming extinct, from birds to koalas, kangaroos, and so on, and even some species of trees as well.
Yeah.
But I think they're working on some tree planting activities all the time across all the country. They are really taking care of the animals. And another concern was the air quality. Like, thankfully, I lived far from the bushfires, but I could
Mm,
see how the air quality was bad, and you can see the smokes everywhere due to the ash and smoke and soot in the atmosphere. So you feel suffocating all the time, even if you're far away from the bushfire. And so the government was working on it, the firefighters were really battling. And I think the most important thing is to understand the reason behind the problem. Like, we need to know the significant impact of the rising of global temperature around the world. We need to call the government, to call the leaders, and ask them to treat climate change as an emergency, and to take some urgent actions, because we don't want similar catastrophe in the future. We know that bushfires is normal here due to how the nature and the atmosphere is dry, and due to some like natural reasons or effects. But we need at the same time to analyze and understand that there's something else behind this, and we need to guarantee for future generations to grow up and live in a safe place. We don't want them to be threatened by fires all the time. So yeah, we need to take more actions towards climate change, um, and understand that it's the reason behind this. It's not only the environment and the nature.
yeah, that's true. Do you know what the Australian government's stand is on climate change? Are they for taking climate action or not? Do you know?
Yes. What I know, and I'm not happy to say at the moment, is that the
I
government
have an idea.
the government is not taking very serious actions for climate change at the moment. Even the global actions to reduce the temperature rise globally, and the agreement between several countries and all around the world, Australia is not giving a lot of care for this, or giving a lot of decisions and change in the industry, or the lifestyles of the Australians for reducing this problem and for solving this problem. Yeah, so that's what I know. I'm not sure what will happen in the future, and we can say that it's basically uh, about the parties that is in the government. So some parties really care and really want to implement some decisions and some actions, but the current government, from what I know, is not doing any changing decisions.
Mhm. Yeah, that's true. I mean, it was also very evident in the negotiations in Madrid.
Mhm,
Australia was they weren't really supportive of some of the climate action policies, and
mhm,
I think it's like you said, the politics around it. It
mhm.
could be that they aren't comfortable with some of the phrasing and all that, so it's language and narrative around climate change and getting them to understand that it's really real, because some
Mm-hmm.
people still do not believe that climate change is real. And
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I think it's just constantly reminding them that it's a real threat and it's something that needs to be dealt with. Maybe it will change, their perception will change in the future. But I mean, that's really up to the people. It's up to actually the citizens. The citizens elect these leaders. So if they do want to
Yeah.
see change, then they should, vote the right way, as
That's
we
right.
say. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's okay. So any last words of wisdom or advice for young people who, especially women who want to pursue a career in the STEM field like you did? Do you have any thoughts or words of advice that you would like to share with them?
Uh, I would like to tell them to follow their dreams, to do what they love, to not stop for barriers that the society provide or people around them provide for them. They need to face their fears, follow their ambitions, and while doing this, maybe they can think at the same time to help others. Because if you're doing something and you're helping one person, this person can help 10 other persons, and two of them can help 10 others, and etc. So this can already affect a lot. So when you help more, a larger number is affected and it spreads around. So they should be ambitious, they should be happy if they can help only one person around them, and to do what they love, maybe, and to face their fears and to face their society and their surroundings. Maybe they need to try something new, because you never know what you might learn about yourself unless and until you get away to something completely new, take yourself out of your box. So these opportunities that takes you out will inform you how strong you are, and will teach you how to capitalize your strengths and how to improve your weaknesses.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, while doing everything, while going after your dreams, while helping others, also remember to be sustainable and socially responsible, and do small actions and small decisions to preserve the earth around us. Because even small actions can do an important role in facing environmental problems and in saving our mother's earth. And when you do anything new, when you try any new opportunity, try to carry the lessons, the values, and everything new you got from these experiences, to build the small steps for a brighter future, and to continue your journey in your life.
Wise words that you said, and I'm
Thank
sure that
you.
whoever is listening is going to really be inspired by those words. Um, yeah, so I guess that's it from our side. Did you have any questions that maybe you wanted to ask me or not?
I'm very happy. I really enjoyed the talk. I feel like we're just catching up what
Yeah,
happened in the last year, and we're talking,
yeah.
so it's a friendly chat.
Yeah, true. And I also just wanted to share, Sia Agri said, "Cool talk, Maria. Salma is doing some cool work." So I think he was listening to that. And then we have someone, Manu Kumar, who also said hi. We had actually some really interesting views. People have liked what you said. You'll see the likes on the video when you go and rewatch it again, and it will also be made available on Spotify. So we'll repurpose it for audio content for those who can't watch the video format. Um, and thank you also for accepting to be on our show. I was really intrigued by your journey, and I wanted to, find out more about what you're doing and hopefully get to inspire other people. And I think this has accomplished that. I want to ask you, how do you say thank you in Islam? What's the right way to say it?
So in Arabic, we say shukran.
Okay. So shukran, and
Ah, thank you.
and have a lovely next day, because I know it's almost midnight your side, right?
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
correct.
Okay.
Thank
Okay.
you
Thank
so
you.
much, Maria. I was
Thank
really
you.
happy and I enjoyed it. Please keep in touch.
All right. All right. Bye.
Yeah. Have a lovely day. Bye.